Of course, I choose a day when my entire neighborhood is noisy to film this sniff session. Welcome back. I hope we've all had a lovely week. Let's think about what's happened. Oh, I did get into a little bit of a kerfuffle because I was tired of seeing people recommending Gris Charnel as a fragrance. So I just shared a screenshot of what the founder said that earned him my ire. And then somebody started arguing with me about the fact that I stitched another creator and that I'm driving hate toward them. I'm not going to rehash everything, but overall they were wrong because I think that it's very loser behavior to be an internet troll and bully. I do understand the impulse though, because I am human and I have sometimes found myself wanting to say very evil things in somebody's comment section. But then I realized that is not part of the brand. And I think personal branding is very important. As a content creator, I think we inadvertently brand ourselves without us knowing. And I only really realized I had my own personal brand when people from the outside told me it. And I kept on getting similar feedback about how people perceive me based on my profile. Some of them being my friends and some of them just mutuals or just strangers. But I think a very standout moment, hence the podcast, I suppose, was in 2022. I went to Quintessence and I went to the Versailles booth because I had been interested in them. And I wanted to smell Blondine because that was the one that was most popular. And then I met Natalia, the founder, and she was like, "You're the girl with the voice." So, I have to thank biology for that one because that's not something that was really of my doing. And it was kind of there where I realized, okay, so maybe I should continue on with this thing because even though I had quite a small following at that point and I was still recognizable. So that's interesting. And then this also goes to show that even if you have a smaller account, your branding can be strong enough to bring you into spaces where you think you don't belong or spaces that you think are beyond your reach. Many times I'm in rooms and I'm like, oh, you are a YouTuber with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and you get paid to do campaigns with niche brands that don't pay anybody else. And we're here together, you and I. And that's exciting and interesting. And I always implore people, if you have the impulse to create, please do. Personally, on my creative journey that is outside of content creation, I'm kind of still in this creative block. I have to admit I have not been very diligent with my course in the artist's way, so I'm going to revamp that within the next week. And I think it's also okay to fall off. Just you have to jump back on. I think that one thing about me is that I will fall off, but I will never stay fallen. I will always jump back on. I will find new ways to restart again. And I think that in the end, I find that in my life, that is how you enter cycles of improvement. You fall off and you get back on again, and each time you get back on you get a little bit further than when you fell, so eventually you've made progress. But back to personal branding, I think that people don't realize, I think that you sometimes get more qualitative experiences if you spend time to really construct certain standards for how you want to appear or how you want to interact with people. And then sometimes that is in direct contrast to what's successful on the internet. And I have to remind myself that I've not lived an ordinary life, so I'm not going to be relatable to most people. Of course, I'm a human being, so I relate to the human experience, but I don't think that the average person will just tune in and be like, oh yes, I know exactly who you are. You're like my cousin or whatever. So I keep that in mind, but I still think that we can provide value in our own authenticity and we have to stay true to that because it's so tempting and enticing to be something other than what you are because you see what is successful. I've always said this, I wish I could be more enthusiastically expressive or whatever, but you never know who's watching, and sometimes weird things happen around that. And then that leads me on to the point of Yes, the drama. I swear I don't put this in to make these little clickbait promo videos, but the drama wasn't that interaction about BDK. The drama was something that I'm completely outside of, because fragrance talk has evolved in a lot of ways since I joined it. And overall, it was the space of the introverts, the space of the people that were just having a FaceTime chat with their friends. And then this came in different iterations. You had some nerdy people, or people who were super aesthetically driven. But overall, everybody was just kind of, we're here for the perfume, we're here for the love of fragrance. And definitely over the course of time, TikTok became a profitable venture. But if you started off here for the fragrance and you do start profiting, you kind of do it in a way that makes sense based on your personal branding. But of course, with the success of Perfume Talk and TikTok as a whole, people who I would associate with being more suited to the YouTube space, no offense to the platform, kind of wormed their way in, not wormed, but have also joined the platform. And who do I mean by that? I feel like I'm not being very tactful with this, but I'm just going to say that out loud. So the people who are trying to push you to go and click their links, and people who are trying to push you to buy their decants and buy their bottles and use their affiliate code. So that's the success of YouTube influencers for a good while now. They have loads of links in their description boxes, and if you click those links, people will purchase you, and you purchase product, they get kickbacks. And if they get a good enough number of views, those kickbacks can be quite substantial. Now that's now happening because TikTok has TikTok Shop. So I don't even really know the full story, so maybe I shouldn't even speak on it, but I saw that there was a live, and the people on the live, I was just confused how all of these people were together. 3 of the people on the live made sense to me, but then there was an extra person who had been kind of critiqued by one of the members on the live. And essentially they were critiquing this individual for pushing overpriced decants. So apparently he was selling like 5 ml for something like $80 or something. And honestly, I think that person is from the US, and I've never agreed with the statement more than there's a sucker born in every minute. So that's kind of, you know what, that's literally the price that Maison Chevalier sells for Eau de Maracuja. But that's beside the point. No, it's not. It's 30. Yeah. So it's like he basically ramped up the price, and they're saying that it's unethical, and then also they were critiquing the fragrances he chooses and saying that essentially he's just pushing product rather than really engaging with the art of perfumery. So that was very interesting to see. And that is why I started talking about personal branding, because that is the successful route you can take. You can be the person that pushes bottles and makes a lot of sales. Brands will still respect you because at the end of the day, they're businesses and they want to generate profits. So you will likely be tagged or flagged for certain things. But there's also another way where you can be engaging to the everyday person and kind of not some upper echelon kind of fragrance reviewer. And I think a good example of this is somebody like TJ Talk Sens. He's from the UK. He's a tall lad, and I don't know, he kind of starts off like, what sort of brethren, and he sounds like the local guy from the pub or whatever. And he seems to be doing quite well for himself, because not only does he venture out on his own to discover new things, he also does partnership with brands, and he also gets invited to things. I think he recently was invited to Paris for the Maison Chevalier Oud Stallion event. And and see, so it's not like you have to be a certain kind of way to be successful in this space, but I don't see people like the ones that are pushing their TikTok shop links invited into the more intimate spaces with brands, depending on what the brand identity is. So yeah, I think that brands and also creators alike need to be aware of their personal branding. I don't know if I want to touch on, I'm going to touch on this. So another thing that I find confusing is that there are a lot of creators that are very, mind just as I'm assuming a certain mentality that brands should have. But there are some creators that really, their bottom line is to sell you a dupe, to sell you a bottle, because the affiliate code is probably more associated with the dupe. Lattafa is paying everybody at the moment to talk about their Blanche Bête dupe, which is, good for them. And I noticed that it might be made at Givaudan, but I don't know for sure because it includes in the note list what I see online, which might not be true. It includes Givaudan captives that are in Blanche Bête. And unless there's been a robbery, the only way that those materials could have made it into this new formula is if the perfume was made at Givaudan, because they are very strict with their security there. I've been there a couple of times now, literally exactly 2 times. And there's just so many layers of security in terms of what gets shown. So even though you've seen people in the labs, they're very particular about what you can show, what you can film, what you can share. And they're also particular about, within the structure itself, about what the lab assistant knows versus what the perfumer knows, and all of these things. So I can only assume that Lattafa is working with Givaudan to create their fragrances, and since a lot of their releases are dupes, that's diabolical stuff. But who knows, maybe I could be wrong. So the point was that brands that work with people that often promote dupes is very interesting to me. Like, you're sending out PR to the person who's promoting the dupe of your bestseller. Very interesting to me. But again, sometimes the bottom line, even if you have all of this particular branding about luxury and exclusivity, sometimes the bottom line is just generating profit, and those people will do that for you, so that's fair enough. But also, as a creator, it is quite difficult to extract resources or to actually gain financially from this enterprise without using affiliate codes and stuff, because if you speak about luxury and niche fragrances, for instance, most brands don't pay. I've heard some brands don't pay on time, and overall most brands can just offer an affiliate code, which is why I love everybody who's used my Gabar code, by the way. I'm so grateful. I'm shocked that anybody actually used it at all, because in previous times I know that I've had codes and they were not successful at all. So I'm very happy that I can partner with a brand that actually I like and love and has good product at a really decent price point, in my opinion anyway, and well, at least for niche. And then I can also extract value from that, because I've been doing this for 3 years, and sometimes I'm putting more money in than I'm getting out of it. Actually, all of the time I'm putting more money in than I'm getting out of it. And honestly, free bottles don't pay the bills. And sometimes I've just realized this now, I maybe need to stop saying yes to PR, because there's this so much, and it's autumn, and a lot of the scents that are really good are autumn scents, and every single day I'm just like, what do I wear today? So I'm thinking of doing an experiment where I just wear one fragrance. I'll test things out in the evening, but my daily driver will be one fragrance, and then I will, that'll be associated with writing this paper that I'm doing at the moment. So while we're speaking of that, and also in terms of not knowing who's watching you, one of the fragrances I've been wearing and testing recently is the new Guerlain Patchouli Paris. Now, Guerlain is a legacy house in the fragrance industry, and they've got a rich legacy in perfumery, and they are also the picture of high perfumery. And I mean, you can get a bespoke fragrance made. It's very expensive. I think it's like 80,000 euros or something. So I really respect them. But of course, they're owned by LVMH. Just so now I'm like, do we separate the art from the artist? But I received this in PR, which is their new patchouli, and it's, unfortunately, it's great. It's fantastic. I love this so much. This is actually, I think I'm going to make this scent my daily driver fragrance. I think it's very Sagittarius moon. So this is a powdery patchouli that's a little bit earthy, chalky, dusty. There is an element to it that reminds me of dust in kind of a sneezy way. but it also has this really lush blooming floral heart. When people started talking about it and talking about the aldehydes within it, I was kind of skeptical. I'm one of those people who really cannot stand scents like Chanel No. 5. I respect its legacy, I respect what it is, but it could never be me wearing that. So Patchouli Paris is just fantastic, because even though it's got aldehydes in here, they really are more luminous. And actually, I don't find this fragrance as dated as some people have stated it to be. It definitely has a classic appeal to it. It has kind of a makeup compact element to it, but it's also just chic. It does definitely give Paris, I think. It gives the glamour of Paris. I think there's an element that reminds me of the Osmanian architecture. And this is beautiful work. I need to look up the perfumer. And also the bottle itself is just stunning. I mean, they have the little embossed bee that's really etched into the glass. And yeah, it's absolutely, I can't help it. It's really good. I also had to pull out a fresh bottle of one of my frequent fall fragrance favorites. And that is Pourpre by Liquide Imaginaires. This is one of the fragrances in 2021 I smelled that had notes that I wouldn't necessarily gravitate towards. When I started my fragrance journey, which for the most part is still kind of true to my taste, I really was into ambery vanillic fragrances, almost gourmands, but now I realize I don't really like gourmands that much. I just like sweet vanillas, but with more of a refined element rather than a delicious element. And Il Pourpre was something that completely changed my world. It has ginger and shiso and fig and a whipped cream facet. It's so different but so pleasant and cozy and sweet. I will say it's one of the fragrances from Liquide Imaginaire that don't have a very long wear time. Maybe it's about 5 hours, 6 hours. But as I always say, you could always just re-up on the fragrance and you'll be fine. So my old bottle finished and I knew I could not have it in my collection. So luckily I had a backup in the collection, because it's one of the fragrances where I had a backup bottle of. I love that because I think I saw a good deal at some point. I said, okay, the other fragrance is going to finish really soon. Blanche Bête is also almost finished and I hate that for me. I also was chatting to Maria and there was a day that she was wearing Quintessence from Manos, Gerakinis. I gave her a decant last time I saw her because it's one of my favorite fall fragrances as well. I mean, look, it's the third way down, so it's not something you wear every single day because it's quite a rich fragrance. It's quite expensive. It's quite luxurious. I'm sorry, I don't remember if you guys know that I'm a little bit weird. Well, now you do. My friends and I always do a little accent randomly when we speak, so now you know, we're friends now for sure. So Quintessence is this gorgeous oud fragrance, but it's also very ambery. This to me just feels like ancient sophistication. I've used that particular phrase to describe this numerous times because it blends facets from different regions of the world, but it just feels like this ancient knowledge of what excellence is. So it's ambery, it's slightly sweet, of course, and it's got that little bit animalic oud. It's not a strong oud fragrance, it's more like a fruity oud. So it's the oud style I like the one in Alexandria too. And yeah, this is such a gorgeous, rare and precious gem. I also just realized that Manos Gerakinis have house fragrances, well, specifically candles, so I might order one and then get a sample of Methexis as well, or a travel size of Methexis, because that's a beautiful, delicious, warming fig, which I think would also be good for this season. But in terms of full bottles, I'm definitely more on a travel size buying kick than a full size buying kick, because by the way, let's all take note, the economy is not economying, okay? Even though perfume is on the lipstick index now, it's still a very expensive thing, so we can slow down. Let's just use what we have and then clear it out. What else? Oh yes, today in particular I'm wearing Pernoire's Otimo, This is stunning. I really resonated with the imagery of the phoenix. It's got that whole birth and rebirth and death cycle, regeneration, resilience. But this is a kind of rum tobacco praline fragrance with a good dose of cardamom. Now that I've been wearing it more in the cooler weather, it's less strong than I felt it was in the summertime, making it more cozy, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it was interesting to note that. In fact, today I wore that, and then I layered it with Muscat from Ormonde Jayne, which is this rich cinnamon oud spicy saffron fragrance, and that was a beautiful combination together. I also have pulled out Wonderland from Paradis de Sens again, because this is a woody gourmand. Like, really, the notes themselves are such a... I don't know, what's that word for something that is a misdirection? Because this is really woody and kind of caramelized and toffee-like, but the notes suggest this is a rose patchouli, unless I'm looking up the wrong fragrance each time. This is really delicious. It kind of smells, it smells like a rich caramelized woody fragrance, but also it smells like freshly ironed clothes, if that makes sense, like that texture of a steamed piece of material. It's not weird, it's really good, but that's kind of what it evokes. And then I had to eat crow recently because I think maybe it was literally last time or the time before that I started chatting about 402 by Bon Parfumeur because I said it was discordant, and I wrote this when I spoke about it on my Instagram, but it's actually really good. I just think I needed the weather to cool down because the caramel and the sandalwood blend much better together, and it's less alcoholic, so you kind of have this soft sandalwood that's almost kind of powdery with a caramelized facet and a soft gentle vanilla. It's not cloying, it's such an easy wear. This is kind of an easy office grab right now. And I just saw that Bon Parfumeur released their Cartenia, which is Irish chocolate fragrance. I smelled it at Exxon's, it was excellent. I need to find my way to worm my way back into the PR list to receive it, because I see people getting bottles, but I have not seen mine arriving. Not that I'm entitled, it's actually very crazy that I live a life that anybody sends me free things. But let's move on to the sniff session, which almost did not happen today because I just felt super ugly, and I didn't want to show up on camera. So I just want to workshop how would the YouTube listeners feel if I opted to do audio-only episodes? Because one thing about me, it's very rarely that I'm not in the mood for a yap, but quite often I don't feel like getting ready. So let me know. Of course, I will defect to the wants of my audience rather than my laziness, because I think the cooler weather does promote laziness, but I think that in order to stay happy and motivated and ambitious, we have to stay doing new things and being consistent in anything in our lives. And that's what I'm trying to keep abreast of, because I fell off with my morning pages this week on like 2 days, and I feel bad about it, but it's supposed to be a kind of a restorative practice, so I shouldn't feel bad about it because it's my life. But I want to be that person who's consistent about something, and the thing is, there are things in my life I'm consistent about, I know this, and I just have to tap into the energy that allows me to stick to my skincare routine or getting into bed at a certain time, so that I can continue making progress in my other personal goals. Of course, I know that the energy expenditure of literally just washing your face and putting lotions on is quite different than sitting down in front of your camera and talking for an hour, or sitting down and writing 3 pages for an hour. And I think that one of my issues is that I chose an A5 book for that, and that is quite a big page to fill. So maybe I should have opted for a smaller notebook, because I saw Bella Hadid also does morning pages, but she's got like an A6 size book. So maybe that was my folly. But maybe that is going to allow me to make the breakthroughs that I need, because I have been making breakthroughs. I think that a lot of self-sabotage comes due to a rooting in fear, and then not sometimes, but these fears that stop us from going after these personal goals are often just baseless. Because I think that, I don't know what your life is like, but a lot of us have faced real existential threats, right? In some regard, like being in a foreign country and not having funding to continue to be there, but not having the funding to go home. Or I don't know, I was very anxious for the past month because my very good friend went back to her home country and it is war-ridden. And she texted me saying, yeah, so I spent the night in a bunker last night. And I was like, please come back. Please come back. So we faced true existential threats and fears where our literal future has been threatened in some regard. So really, taking out your little notebook and writing 3 pages is not that hard, or taking out your sketchbook and doing something with your oil pastels is not that difficult. Nobody's going to judge you for it. And even if you start an art page and you share all of this work and nobody likes it, you're also not going to die. You're going to have a page as a catalog, and maybe it'll take you time, but you'll find an audience. I mean, look at all the great artists in history. And honestly, we're in a time where it's a fantastic space for women in creativity, because everything has been male dominated for so long. And I think that women perspectives will be so fresh, or LGBTQ plus perspectives will be so fresh. People of color perspectives will be so fresh. And people will realize that we actually aren't all that different. We're not really strangers, like that card game says. Because being alive is so frequently just repeated patterns occurring in different individuals, and that when you come together, there's something that we can all relate to in some regard. We relate to pleasure, we relate to pain, we relate to feeling emotionally stuck, and sometimes we can just help each other by sharing that, hey, I've been through this too. Or maybe just sharing something, but somebody sees it from a different angle and sees, hey, I feel seen. What happened to me or what I've experienced or what I feel is not unique. And this person can overcome it and they can follow their dreams. So maybe I can too. I think that we can sow seeds of hope in others, and that means that there is hope within us, and that means that hope exists in general. So we can just move forward. And that fear we've created is just a self-imagined cage and is not really an existential threat. Wow, I really just wanted to start smelling a new perfume brand. So this is from YLEM. Hopefully today I will have a different opinion, but this was made by the same perfumer for Pernoire, Andreas Wilhelm. So this is not officially launched yet. So they say that YLEM is a hypothetical substance proposed by G. Gamow or Gamow, believed to have existed just after the Big Bang, and considered the origin of all existing elements. I understand that. I mean, all existing elements come from exploding stars, but I understand what they mean. Gosh, I really can destroy the romanticism or something. So when people create new brands, I always just wonder, like, what's the motivation? Like, I understand that it's quite a good industry for a looming recession or a recession. I don't know what, I'm not the economist here. But why do you have the need to create this brand? Why does the market need you? Why does the market need your scent designs? What is your raison d'être? And maybe I should have looked up on the website, but yeah. So I'm smelling Eastern Vale. This is a spicy fragrance. What did they say? Our master perfumer and we used colors, names, and emotions evoked by the nebulae and transformed them into 3 beautiful scents. They've created fragrances, otherworldly fragrances named after nebulae existing in the universe. Okay, so Eastern Veil apparently is the name of a nebula. It's supposed to be gourmand, musky, and spicy. I get the spicy aspect. This reminds me, it's also, there's something a little bit disturbing. It's like a dry, woody facet. So it's like a woody gourmand. It's like if you took Encens Suave and removed the sweet vanilla aspect of it, it's still sweet, but it's more like a dark caramel. But it's not a good dark caramel. I'm sorry. I would prefer something like Paramour by Ormonde Luxury, or what's that one? Desired by Elixir. It's a gorgeous caramel leather. Or Feu Zonzoline by this in the Le Couleur collection from Le Nez en Sarget. I don't know if you guys can hear the music around me. I'm so sorry, but hopefully I won't get copyrighted. Yeah, I think they're percolating enough. Okay, so that's Eastern Veil. I'm not sure what's happening in that nebula, but I don't want anything to do with it. So now we smell Eye of God. This is their oud. If you were on my TikTok on the 21st of September, I said that maybe we don't need to create fragrance brands. This is the brand that inspired that TikTok. So Eye of God is supposed to be woody, oudy, and ambery. Yeah, this kind of smells like Oud for Greatness a little bit. It is not objectionable. This is probably the best fragrance in the collection so far. And then finally we've got Soap Bubble, which is the one that I know I do not like. But I'll spray it again anyway for the purpose of this podcast. And in fact, I should probably maybe have sprayed this one first because it is the lightest of the bunch. But one thing about, oh gosh, it's so bad. It's so bad. This smells like watermelon bubblegum, which actually a lot of people would probably like. Let me not say that. This is not to my taste. It's not bad, it is not to my taste. The fragrances themselves are well made. They don't necessarily smell like cheap. They don't smell expensive either. Yeah, all of these are somewhat disturbing to me. I don't think that the scent profiles are easily likable for people who have this similar taste to me. One thing about Soap Bubble, there's a facet of it that reminds me of Ghost in the Shell by that brand, named after a colonial structure in apartheid South Africa. And yeah, so YLEM, God bless. I do not know who your audience is, but you know, you got the funding, so good luck. Next, let's dig into some of the samples that I ordered from Jovoy, which I've been neglecting. I've recently just been going through my Francesca Bianchi Discovery Set. They sent me PR. I'm so touched. One thing I will say though is there definitely is a signature to Francesca Bianchi's scents, and to me it feels like you're smelling the same fragrance. You're just choosing which slight variation you want to have. They're very deep with the patchouli, with its animalic musk, a little bit sweet, a little bit oracey, and they definitely feel artisanal. But they've been exciting to smell. I think that they definitely are something that I enjoy. I really like the Byzantine Amber. Sorry for the ASMR, I'm trying to open this Infiniment Coty packet. So I do enjoy their, I do like the profile. I don't know. It's a lot. They're very intense, but so sometimes I feel like I've smelled this fragrance before, but it's just because of that core DNA. And sometimes the DNA is jumping out more than the nuanced facets of it, which is a good or a bad thing, depending on your perspective. Sorry, I just dropped my blotters, so I need to get some more. So now we're smelling Infiniment Coty Santal La Vida, and I love sandalwood. And this is one that I smelled in store, but I haven't had a chance to really wear and play with. Oh yeah, wait. It's slightly spiced, but it's really lightly spiced, but it's a proper pure sandalwood. So the other day, Demi Rawling spoke about her search for sandalwood, and I actually think that this is what she's looking for. Because she really loved Fragrance du Bois Santal Complet, even the last 2 seconds. And she said that they reformulated it, so she's looking for the next sandalwood. I think this might be the one she likes. It's creamy, it's smooth. Obviously, it's got a good dose of the synthetics. So I need to put this on my skin, but this is a gorgeous... What I love about a sandalwood forward fragrance is that they're undeniably chic. You're never going to smell a plain sandalwood fragrance and think that it's something for a rat to wear. They're just so chic, and a good easy wear, a good white t-shirt, white linen shirt fragrance. And not too cloying, and that's why I think they work great as signature scents, because you can wear them summer or winter and they're great. Oh, I'm just dropping everything today. Okay, let's do the next fragrance, which I think is their white flower one. Remember I said I'm still looking for my perfect white flower? Or maybe I just need to buy it. So this is Les Mots Doux, the sweet words. Or soft? Yeah, I think it's soft. I don't know. You got tuberose in there. It really feels like a lush white flowers on a fresh flower. It feels so photorealistic. You know when you just dig your nose into a bouquet? Oh, this is so elegant. I hate this for me because these are so expensive. They're so expensive. But maybe I could get like a little travel set. Like those are like 150, 180 for my birthday. I think for my birthday this year, I'm not going to do a fragrance. I'm maybe going to do like a piece of jewelry or maybe a vinyl player. I just want to see what the vibes are, because I have enough perfume. I really am at a point where I know that I'm at the limit. Of course, I'll never say no if someone wants to give me a fragrance, but I myself need to just chill out for a while and enjoy what I have. But this is stunning, man. Goodness gracious. Yes. Yes. Les Mots Doux and Santal A La Vida. Infiniment Coty, you have earned yourself a fan. You have earned yourself a fan. Let's see what else. Please let me know what you... Actually, I can give you a review of something I've already smelled and I don't like. This is Neroli Botanica by Anne Flippo for Essential Parfum. This is coming from a Neroli lover. So she imagined an androgynous orange blossom that you want to smell again and again and again, faceted with fusing spices and a bewitching heart of jasmine and neroli. Its powerful trail melts into a hypnotic woody base of sandalwood and vetiver. Incorrect. This is Sunlight dish soap. She turned this into a citrus fragrance somehow, and I don't like it. But I'm sure that others will. For me, it goes really soapy on my skin, and then it has that kind of house cleaning product smell. And I know a lot of perfumers do kind of cross work. I don't know Anne Flippo's history, but it's just not for me at all. What else do we have? Oh, this is... I want to do something unique and different. You know what? Let's do something that is... I know that this fragrance launch is unsuccessful based on the response of the online fragrance community. This is Acro Infuse, and so this is the line by Olivier Cresp, and he essentially makes fragrances around vices. So he did one about tattooed skin, I think called Ink, then he did coffee, then he did sorry, then he did coffee, then he did chocolate. There's one on marijuana. Everybody Loves Bake, which is a lemon pound cake scent. So this is Infused. This is supposed to be their tea scent. And I'm not convinced. You know, I think I need to find the chasing Sens Discovery Set, or I think that's the name of the brand, the one that does exclusively tea fragrances, because the interpretation of tea in this current market is absolutely abhorrent. Like, do you drink tea? So this is, I get the citrus aspect, of course. And then you get a little bit of a green tea-like scent. But every time somebody has a tea, it's always with a citrus. I understand it if you're doing an Earl Grey, but not all tea smells lemony. And I understand the role of citruses in the olfactive pyramid, but sometimes you're just not doing it well. Have I said anything positive? Yes, I like the Infiniment Coty. Sometimes I have to balance things out such that I don't sound like a sourpuss. We can talk about La Liturgie des Heures, which is a Jovoy fragrance, which is an incense fragrance. And what I find interesting is the interpretation of incense in perfumery and the reality of incense in real life. Because I find in perfumery, incenses tend to be a lot more musty than they are in real life. I mean, because it's fall, I've started burning frankincense and bukhur in my apartment, so it smells amazing. But although I do get the musky, almost animalic facets in my Omani frankincense, it's never as prominent as it is in a perfume. But this literally smells like Omani frankincense, La Liturgie des Heures. And maybe a little bit Catholic churchy. And that's also another thing, the difference between the incenses in perfume and versus like the incense that you burn in your apartment. I feel like we forget that incense comes in flavors as well, and it's not all the same Catholic church vibe. So I'd love to see somebody interpreting incense that is scented into a perfume. For instance, my friend was burning the incense version of Ink by Parfumeur H, and it smelled incredible. So I'd love to see that translated into a fragrance where you have the smoky incense facets but also the scent behind it as well. I think that that would be a really beautiful interpretation of an incense. So like, instead of making a pure incense fragrance, make an incense inspired perfume, if that makes sense. Even though my example is an incense made based on the scent profile of a fragrance. Anyway, we all get what I mean. I think that we'll just do one more for today, because I'm literally running out of them. No, I spoke about this already. And I want to be positive, so I'm choosing one that I'm likely... okay. Let's talk about Patrius by Soul of Makeen. And I'm using the incorrect blotter for it because Jovoy gives you these lovely little scent cards when you do orders. So this one I bought because I thought it was supposed to be a vanilla fragrance, but it's not. This is an iris fragrance. It's got aromatic nuances. There's a little bit of sandalwood in the base I can smell. This is a really chic, subtle, soft fragrance. Another scent that I would make kind of like a cashmere scarf scent or a white shirt scent. Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful. Soul of Makeen Patrius. I need to wear this itself as well. It's also got maybe some violet leaf facets as well because it has a little bit of a vegetal edge. Really, really good. I haven't really seen many people talk about Soul of Makeen. Their bottles are stunning. I don't recall the price point, but I don't recall having a heart attack, so I'm sure it's not that bad. Because there is a brand, I don't know their name, they have fragrances based around specific astrological aspects, so like, you know, Jupiter trine Mercury, stuff like that. And the bottles are stunning. They're these gorgeous rocks, but they're like 2,500 euros. Yeah, I think that's a little bit too rich for my blood. But yeah, I mean, perfume is still fun to smell, and I respect people going to the outer edges of creation. I do appreciate the meeting of our architecture and fragrance, because I think that It just creates beautiful objects. And if you can find the correct fragrance that would be your signature and having that one expensive bottle on your mantle, perfect. Unfortunately, I discovered sampling, so that will never be me. But I always encourage everybody to sample before they buy, because this has been the Sniff Session with your host Valerie, the Niche Sampler. And as always, happy sniffing.